Israel's staunch defenders are eating their own, even at a faster pace than I even realized. But this is the insatiable uh, appetite of someone who devours the human spirit, and it's just never enough. I want to direct you to a tweet by this bloated fraud, Randy Fine out of Florida. There's, I want to talk about how we could expel Randy Fine from office. And it's not hard, but it's going to come from Florida's own constituents. And for those who have not lost their morality in regards to the latest issue out of Israel, look at what Randy Fine has to say here. And this was yesterday. It says, when you wonder why I don't give a shit about Gazans, here is one reason. As it wasn't enough, there are 1,450 more. So Randy Fine does appreciate and value Israel and Jewish lives. But when it comes to Arabs, he doesn't give a shit. So this guy is the epitome of evil, the epitome of immorality, the epitome of apathy, narcissism. He's a racist, just like every other Christian Zionist who tends to value the lives of Jews, but does not care about Arabs. They don't care about the human race. They care about their own race of people, right? Their own culture, their own values. And these are the people we can't have in government because these are the people with an insatiable desire to eradicate or to debase entire groups of people because they feel that they are inferior. And this is what the mindset of what religion can do when you think that you are acting in accordance with God. And their God is man made. Their God is always angry, it's jealous, it's vengeful, it's loving, it's worried. These are all human traits. Their God, the people that make out God to be this, this vengeful monster, it's them themselves they're describing. It's amazing what people will do to propagate their own insecurities in the form of what they feel to be a secure deity. And, there are other, like, if you go back and you read this guy's timeline on Twitter, it really is horrifying, right? Because he generalizes entire, he hates Muslims. He hates them, right? And when I talk about the insatiable appetite of eating their own, this was the tweet that set it off. It says, what a fraud. My post was in response to debunked Hamas propaganda, which Richie Torres conveniently lets out. Richie Torres is a Democrat here out of the Bronx who's a staunch ally of Israel. So here you have two people, right? One's a Democrat, one's a Republican, doesn't matter. They're both staunch allies of Israel. But here they are, right? So what did Richie Torres say? Richie Torres said, Randy Fine is a bloated, brain dead, blithering idiot who has no business being in Congress. I agree with everything here. I would call Fine a jester who belongs at a circus, but that would be an insult to jesters who have more brain cells. But I would also apply that to you, Richie Torres. You're a sellout. You spent the last year talking more about Israel than your district. And the Bronx is really in trouble because there's been a lot of violent crimes, especially robberies, felonious robberies, felonious sexual assaults, and domestic battery at highs we haven't seen since the Dinkins administration. That's how bad things are. I mean, they're not at 4,000 deaths or murders a year. That was the crack epidemic under Dinkins and under Koch, but there's a lot of violent crime happening because of inflation, because of people having no economic choices at their disposal, a lack of even livable wages, hiring security guards at $15 an hour or, doormen at 18. It's not viable. The average medium income rent is $2,100 for a bedroom. Don't forget, never mind upper and lower Manhattan or northern Queens, northern Brooklyn, where the rent hikes are even a little bit higher, 2,300. Manhattan, I think, is at 3,000 or so. It's like, how many doctors and lawyers live here? But nevertheless, that's why you have all this crime. So here you have these two people basically acting the fool against each other because there's, their appetites for um, self-debasement, debasement of others, violence of others, because they appreciate violence, they appreciate degradation, and they use these as tools to destroy their preconceived enemies. And this is the mindset of a fanatic, whether it's from a political left or political right, whether it's from a Christian, Jew, or Muslim, it doesn't matter. I'm talking about the individual itself. Randy Fine is himself. Ritchie Torres is himself. He's not what Zionism is. They allowed for this to happen because they're victims of brainwashing too. But they're overcome by it. They allowed for a human construct to overtake their spirit, their mind, and with that, their humanity. And it's why, Randy Fine could feel comfortable about writing on Twitter about how he feels with Muslims. Now, the next step is to basically Randy Fine just approving of killing everybody. And he's alluding to that very closely because he says that, Gazans should starve away. And the irony is that Randy Fine looks like he hasn't starved in decades. But nevertheless, let's get to the point of how we can get Randy Fine out of office. And it's about expulsion. I did a whole video on this, so I'm not going to do a run. I'm not going to repeat myself, but I did a video about how we can get rid of Randy Fine through the legal means, and it's called expulsion. And here on the Senate Gov website, Article 1, Section 5 of the United States Constitution provides that each House of Congress may determine the rules of its proceedings, punish its members for disorderly behavior, and with the concurrence of 2/3 expel a member. And the last time that happened was 1995, and it gives you a list. 1995, Robert Packwood for sexual misconduct and abuse of power, and he was resigned. So I would say to the constituents, both in the House and the Senate, and to the residents of Florida, that if you allow for Randy Fine to continue to represent you, he's going to basically misconstrue and generalize that, Florida's a bunch of fascist, immoral individuals who approve of the murder or the mass extinction and mass forced expulsion of Arabs because, Muhammad's a terrorist and Islam's a terrorist religion. But if you never understood a faith and never read about a faith, and you only take it from the words of others, of your own pastors, of your own loved ones, of Fox News or OAM, you're no better than the leftist who hates a Republican because they're not wearing purple hair, they're not voting progressive, they're not for the freedoms of religion, the safety of the constituents themselves, the classic idea of liberalism, and not the liberalism that we see today. Different. So that's why I don't tend to generalize you. I judge you by your character individually. And what I've seen from Ritchie Torres and what I've seen from Randy Fine is enough to call for their expulsion. And so I'm asking you, the viewer, to join me in making content, voicing your opinion about Randy Fine, about, Brian Mast or Lindsey Graham or Ritchie Torres or, Kamala Harris or anybody else, anybody within the areas of government that are taking foreign lobby dollars, which was what Israel is doing and Saudi Arabia is doing. And these are the two of the most corrupt, most immoral and evil governments on the face of the earth, to join me in power and standing against them, because what we need is an impartial government that works on behalf of bettering American values and not the values of foreign nations conducting war crimes. All right, guys, thank you very much for tuning in. Have a great weekend and see you in the next video, everybody.